Everybody, it's Wednesday night. Happy Wednesday. This is the Pandemic Proof Singer Series. My name is Danielle Tucker. I'm a singer, vocal coach. I'm lead singer for the Mighty Untouchables band. I'm the recent host and producer of the Pandemic Proof Singer Summit. And what you're watching tonight is the Pandemic Proof Singer Series. It's a weekly interview series for singers about singers. We talk about moving forward in the midst of this pandemic, our industry shut down. It's about community and lifting one another up, encouraging each other, inspiring each other, helping each other do hard things. I am really, really excited to have this guest here with me tonight. I have heard her name in circles for ever, but we are meeting for the first time tonight. So let me tell you a little bit about her. I've got Ginger Cowgirl with us tonight. She's a California born, now Nashville based vocalist. Her range and versatility, she sings country, jazz, rock, soul, and pop with equal proficiency and passion. She's classically trained. She's a classically trained pianist from the age of 7. She has her degree from UC Berkeley and sings in 4 different languages. She got her start in the music industry singing jingles while living in Buenos Aires. So please help me give a big round of applause to Ginger Cowgirl. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for doing this. I'm excited to meet you. Like I
Thank you.
said, it's weird. San Diego is kind of it is a small music town, but so you kind of hear these names in your circles all the time, and you hear people's music and their work and everything. But because we're all typically working on the same nights, we don't often get to spend much time together. So I'm excited to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I've heard your name forever. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, you know what? I always like to start off the interview by talking about where you were at in your career when pandemic hit, and what kind of came to a screeching halt for you, and how was the transition over the year for you?
I was getting ready to record a record when everything started. And actually, I'm really grateful that everything happened because the year, like most of the songs on the album I'm recording right now, I wrote in the last year.
Mhm.
So I'm not pro COVID, but I'm pro what all that spare time did for my songwriting ability.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
like looking at it that way. That's great. So you have another album in the works. You released an EP in 2019, which I've listened to all day, and it's amazing.
Thank you.
I love your writing style. The lyrics are great. I mean, it was just I was oh my gosh, what was the one song? I think it was an earlier song you put out, the douchebag song.
Oh.
I was laughing out loud. It was wonderful.
Every word is true.
Yeah, I could hear the truth behind that for sure. And I want to comment on your voice too. Your voice like grabbed me like the second I started hearing the music. You have this like amazing brightness and clarity, just crystal clear clarity in your voice, and I love that. That's just it's butter to my ears. So
Thank you.
I'm a new fan for sure. So tell me about the album. What's it like? Who's on it? When should we expect it?
Well, I'm the reason I'm back in San Diego right now is to record this record. I looked at a bunch of producers in Nashville and everybody was like $25,000 and I'm just like, hell nah, bro. I don't have a label. So I came back here. I'm doing it with Ben Moore at Singing Serpent in Kensington.
Mhm.
And I just entrusted him with all the players. So interestingly, I feel like I know everybody in San Diego musically, but the people that he hired to be on this record, I had never heard of at all.
Wow.
And but I'm sure you probably have like Jason Littlefield on bass and Matt Lanaut on drums. I don't know if you know those people, but um,
I
yeah,
don't.
I didn't. See,
Well, that's
it's
strange, but I'm sure they're great.
and yeah, I had a guy come down to do pedal steel and mandolin from LA. He I had never heard of him, but sorry, I can't talk. He has toured with like Nora Jones and John Mayer and Lucinda Williams and all these people. He was also in Steve Poltz's band in San Diego forever, so people probably Doug Pettibone. Some people know his name,
I've
but
heard that name. Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So
Very cool.
yeah, so it was nice to meet new people, and I don't like the studio. I hate session singing. That's what I was doing all day today.
Yeah.
I know words create reality, so I shouldn't say I hate something, but I
Yeah.
don't like it.
Unpack that a little bit for me. What is it about being in the studio you don't like so much?
I'm a live singer. I just feel like a terrible singer when I'm in the studio.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, I didn't articulate the end of that word. Oh, like I was slightly pitchy on this thing, and then I get in my head and like there's so much evidence. We don't usually hear ourselves live. I don't usually tape my gigs and like listen back to them. I probably should. That would improve my precision,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just sort of horrifying. I mean, I feel like most singers don't enjoy the sound of their own voice anyway, listening back to
Mhm.
it, but in this context, when there's like a clock running and just a lot of pressure. So,
Yeah. Yeah, there is absolutely no glossing over your flaws or mishaps, in the studio. And I share your feelings to a certain extent. I enjoy doing the work and I like the challenge of it. And I like learning and, being with other great singers. But there really is this kind of intimidation factor that goes along with it when you're used to being a live performer because in live performance, you are fueled by an audience, you're fueled by that energy. And then when you go and step into the studio, you are in a cold, stark box with nothing happening. You're completely isolated. And you know that there's a room full of people on another side of the glass staring at you. And, it can be really intimidating.
and
I
there's
get you.
no like studios are, soundproofed, sound treated, so there's no natural reverb, and it's like the only singer I've
Mhm.
ever met in my life that does not enjoy having reverb when she sings is Tori Rose, who I'm sure you know.
Oh,
And she
yeah.
told me that. She's like, Stacy, you need to sing without reverb. I'm like, bitch, please. No, I do not. Like,
Yeah.
so,
That
yeah.
doesn't feel good at all. I wonder why she likes that.
God, it works for her. Shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it seems to be working, huh? Yeah. So what is the album like? Are these all songs written by you? And is it a full-length album?
it is a full length album. It'll be my first full length album, and they all are written by me. So
Mhm.
there should be 12 songs on the record. Now that I've recorded them all, I'm like, they could be better, but oh well.
Of course.
Life is a journey.
Are you still like in the midst of recording everything, or is it just being wrapped up now?
The band is done, but today was my first day of 4 days of vocal tracking. So I did 4 tracks today. Presumably I'll do 4 the next 2 days, and then I'll do like background vocals. And I love harmonizing with myself. That's one regard in which I do like singing in the
Hmm.
studio.
Hmm.
So
Very cool.
yeah.
That's awesome. And so when do you anticipate having it out?
Probably, I don't know, it's a struggle for everyone that's releasing music right now just because we're used to releasing it and promoting it with a tour. And
Hmm.
I'm hopeful right now that, I mean, obviously things are already kind of back to normal. So presumably like spring next year, I can like tour hard. I want to go back to Europe. I did a tour of Europe in January of last year. Got back in February right before COVID hit, so that was nice timing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I want to take the time to like make a bunch of music videos and to do like if I had a team of people helping me, I would put it out sooner. But since I have to do everything myself, it just is going to take longer. And I want to like hire PR and radio promo and like make it a proper debut. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
much that leads up to a release. I mean, I think people outside of this business don't understand just
Mhm.
all of the different channels and all of the buttons that need to be turned and all of the things that have to be prepared. It's so much for one person, and I think that's probably one of the reasons we don't just like pump out music constantly, constantly, and spit out albums left and right because it's a ton of work. So, but it's a great accomplishment, you know,
Mhm.
and it's something that you're gonna have forever.
Yeah, it really is insane how much goes into it. And now even when I don't like an album, I'm just like, cool. you did it. Like, that counts for so much.
Yeah.
Congrats, even though I don't like it. But taste is so subjective anyway, so.
Oh, so are you talking about like looking back at your own stuff that you've done, or
Like other people's.
okay. You don't need to name any names. It's fine.
Oh no, not. I'm generally speaking a terribly judgmental bitch. I'm trying to mitigate that.
Rein it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, don't do that for me.
Do you write original music?
You know what, I have in the past, but it's not been my thing for so long, and I really think that I've been so busy with my band all of these years. We've all talked a lot about writing together, but we're 7 people with wildly different personalities and tastes, and I think we're a little afraid of what we might become if we go into writing, but you never know, and it's something that I kind of would like to get to and pursue. But man, if I didn't do it with a year off, I mean, not sure when else I'm going to get to it. So
You have children, though. You have an excuse.
yeah. Yeah. In fact, I think that's when writing kind of came to a halt for me. I had just done my first EP before my first child and was all like fired up to do the next one. And then I was pregnant again. And I was like, all right, well, so much for that. Yeah. Well, let's back way up. Tell me about your background, where you're coming from. Did you come from a musical family, and what was your musical upbringing like?
I grew up in OB. My parents, I do not have the nice story where I don't have a musical family,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't really know where it came from. But I mean, my mom played a Celine Dion CD every morning when I was in 8th grade for like a year, but she generally has bad taste in music, and yeah, I don't know. I just always loved it. I saw Annie when I was like 5, and I just I looked exactly like Annie too, so I would just walk around. My dad like hid the cassette tapes from me because he was so sick of me playing them over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started taking piano when I was 7. I should have kept that up. I continued until I graduated from high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just kind of left music for a while, and I got a degree in anthropology, and it wasn't until I moved to Argentina just for fun one year that I happened to sort of fall in with a band that was doing like electronic cumbia.
Mm-hmm.
Cumbia is very big in South America, so
Yeah.
I jumped a lot of years there. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Did I answer the question?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I
And
sang in high school too. Like
okay.
I did musicals.
Yeah.
I played Tori Amos and Fiona Apple songs on the piano in the school talent shows. So
Nice. Yes. Love that. That's great. So, from the time you were in Argentina, so you're just kind of like jumping back into the music scene then, uh, what was the journey back to San Diego, or did you go straight on to Nashville from there?
no, I came back to San Diego. And I had previously, after graduating from UC Berkeley, I kept living in the Bay Area, where I really would still be, I'm sure, if I didn't like my job and I wanted to break up with my boyfriend, and the easiest way to do that seemed to be to leave the country. So,
Nice. I mean,
truly. So me and my best friend moved down there. She left after 6 months. I left after a year. And yeah, when I got back to San Diego, I was just thinking like, I'll just stay here, live with my mom for free until I can find a good job, and then I just sort of got stuck here for 7 years, living in my childhood bedroom,
yeah.
which, has an effect. To live with your mother has a definite effect on you.
I'm sure it does.
But but yeah, when I got back, I wanted to keep singing, and I started singing with this band of like guys in their 60s.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we kind of got a big following in Coronado, where all the guys lived. And then from there, I just decided, and we were doing all covers,
Mhm.
everything from like all the genres, like jazz, and I sing in French and Spanish a lot and stuff like that. So, and then after a while, it started to feel hollow to me somehow. Like I wanted to write my own music, basically.
Mhm.
And that I just moved to Nashville I didn't know anybody. I just went in October of 2017. And yeah, I can honestly say that just being in that climate, surrounded by, it's like constant, like IV drip of inspiration.
Mm,
So I know that, I don't really know that I've gotten better as a singer because I just don't sing as much. Like gigs don't pay there the way they pay here.
okay.
Like everybody's playing for free. So yeah, I didn't sing as much, but I just buckled down on the songwriting thing, and there's the most amazing musicians ever there, so I made a lot of good friends in that regard, and yes.
Yeah. Well, that's like incredibly courageous just to like pick up on your own and move to a city that's like as big as, Nashville, and to just kind of step in there and, plug in with musicians. I mean, when you first got there, how did you get into, a scene? Were you going to venues and, going to shows and stuff? Is that how you were meeting musicians?
Yeah, that's the thing about Nashville is every night there's writers' rounds, which is basically, for those that don't know, it's like 3 to 4 people sit in a row on stage, and one by one they play a song like 4 times through. So by the end of the night, or by the end of the hour, everyone's played 3 to 4 original songs. And in theory, it's supposed to like showcase the song, not the performer.
Hmm.
But, you know, I'm a terrible guitar player, so that's been a journey too. I didn't start playing till I moved there. But yeah, I would just go to writers' rounds like every night and meet people. And the thing about Nashville is it's very sort of top 40 country oriented,
Hmm.
like mainstream bro country oriented. So it took a
I
little
like the bro
longer.
country.
Yeah. Which is not my thing. I can appreciate it as a craft. Like I think a lot of those songs are like tremendously clever lyrically
Hmm.
speaking. Just not my jam. But yeah, I just met people that way, just going out every night. Now when I come back to San Diego, it's weird. Even like pre-COVID, I was like, when I'm here, I don't go out every night, and it feels like you could do like 30 things every night in Nashville. But
Hmm.
and I usually do. I go out every night in Nashville.
Yeah,
So
nice. Okay. Yeah, well, that kind of brings me to my next question, which is, let's talk about the country genre. I listened to your EP. It was great, and just like the feel of it was amazing. Definitely had so much of a, traditional feel to it, which I
mm.
absolutely love also. But you could definitely hear like the jazz influence in your voice, and and other things, and it was, really, it just made it so interesting, so nice to listen to. Where did country come into the picture for you?
It's weird. Like all of a sudden, I think I bought like a dollar record at like Cow and OB. And it was like a best of country hits from like the 70s for 99 cents, and I listened to it and I was like, this is good. Like melodically, there's a certain era of country where like everything is super, there's so many nice harmonies. It's
Hmm.
not this like, I didn't grow up listening to country, but everyone talks so much shit on it, like, oh, it's twangy and gross and it's about trucks, and I'm like, this shit is awesome. Like old country is great.
Yes.
um so then I just started Ginger Cowgirl. I started it to be a classic country cover band. um yeah, and as time has gone by, I think, I don't know, I think my sound, like I'm changing my name back to, my stage name is going to be just my, I still struggle with that decision, but I think it's the right one because I don't want to be locked into, like, Ginger Cowgirl clearly indicates something about the style of music,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it pigeonholes me in kind of the wrong way because this album I'm doing now is not really, like, there's pedal steel on it, but there's weird chords and weird lyrics, and it's not at all like structurally country. So it's
Hmm.
Americana, whatever you take that to
Yeah.
mean.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Cool.
I feel like I still write. I don't know. I'm not a very wordy lyricist. I'm just like, here are 2 verses. I got my point out. I have literally nothing else to say. So all the
Hmm.
songs are like 2.5 minutes, which is kind of scary because a full album is like 30 minutes. But in that regard, I'm still kind of
Right.
country.
Yeah. Well, your lyrics are clever as hell. I mean, I was laughing and I was just kind of sitting there like listening for the next line. And I appreciate that so much about songwriters when you can write some good, lyrics and, really be like, you have humor in it. But at the same time, you've got some painful statements happening, but it's like you paint this, uh, reality that you can really get a sense for, in your writing. And I like that a lot. Have you been writing, since you were young, or is that something that you've picked up throughout the years?
First of all, thank you so much. And secondly, no, that was one of the reasons I wanted to go to Nashville, is I kept wanting to write songs, and for whatever reason, I didn't feel, maybe it's because I was gigging so often, doing like 4-hour cover gigs. I just never really felt like I had the time or the motivation or sort of the community almost to do it. So I feel like, God, when I was 13, I was like, if I don't have a Grammy by the time I'm 17, I'm going to be a total wash up. And now I'm like in my 30s, and I'm like, I didn't start writing songs till I was like fucking 33. Yeah. And now, it's so much time lost, so much experience. Like, think of how much better I'd be, but that's no point in thinking that way. So all I can do is keep practicing.
Yeah. Well, you're doing pretty darn good, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, so now that things are beginning to, open up again, you and I were kind of chatting before we got started and I'm sure the musicians and singers out there are feeling this a lot as well. At least I hope you are. Things are opening up in like the past 2 weeks. It's like this flood, a flood of things coming in. And I feel like after, having been out of work for so long, we're just compelled to say yes to everything. But now I am suffering the consequences of that hardcore right now. You don't see it on my face right now. But if I like nod off, while we're talking, that is why. So, how is opening up changing for you? I realize in Nashville standards were totally different than they were here in San Diego, but what's the difference between those worlds and how that's opening up for you?
I think since I don't do so many like background I would do more background cover gigs in Nashville if they paid. But since I'm excited about being able to tour again. Like, Nashville's a really great place to be because it's so centrally located. Like, North Carolina is just like 3 to 5 hours away, and Missouri and Alabama, and everything is right there. And that was one of the really advantageous things pre-COVID, was I would just go to a different city every weekend and start sort of building fans. So that's what opening means to me. Here in San Diego, I have been gigging a lot, and man, it is tiring. I forgot, since I don't do it that often. Also, everywhere in Nashville has PAs, and I come back here and I'm just like lugging my shit everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of eats your whole day, even if it's only like a 3 to 4 hour gig. Starts at 5. You have to beat traffic. You have to make sure you're well fed. You have to get there. It's like all day. So yeah, it's tiring, man.
It is. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. I love sitting in a green room for 3 hours, waiting to play for 45 minutes. It's time well spent for sure. Yeah. So now, are you saying that you have toured before, like with previous releases? Is that something you've already experienced?
Yeah, I've done just touring mostly in like the Southeast region. And in January and February of last year, right before COVID hit, I went to Europe with Sam Hunt. I don't know if you know who that is, but yeah, we did a little tour of like the UK and Germany and Scotland. Yeah, we played in Scotland too. So yeah, that was really fun. I love being on the road. I get a little like overweight because I just eat like fried chicken every day, and you're sitting in a car, but it's cool. I love, yeah.
It's a souvenir. It's a souvenir from your journey. Yeah, well, tell me more about that, because I mean, that's a totally different vein of music than I'm in. And I think that, people who aren't musicians, I think they hear the word tour and they think, oh my gosh, how glamorous. You're going from stadium to stadium every night and, ducking and fleeing away from the paparazzi and your fans. But, give us the real scoop on what it is like to a day in the life on tour.
Well, it is going to your Airbnb and following their weird instructions on where to locate the key. And it's like 11 at night and it's dark. You're like, how do we get into this freaking place? Finally, you get in. I'm sharing a bed with Sam. Thankfully, he does not snore. You wake up early. We didn't have a car, so it's like, let's take the tube to this place. And you're carrying like 2 suitcases and like a guitar on your back through the London Tube. They don't have elevators. You're down the stairs everywhere. Yeah, it's just constantly being physically uncomfortable. Constantly. Hungry, tired, just never like a place to just sit and be for very long. Because if you're in a different city every day, which we were, like you check in at night, you leave the next morning. You can never just chill. Yeah, and it is a lot of like, the reason I like it is because you meet so many people, and I just love Europeans in general.
Yeah.
And just people think you're special when you're not from there. So there's this sort of like the magic of the road that happens. Like people are extra nice to you and they offer you their homes and their food and they tip really well and they buy your merch. So it really sort of redeems, on the flip side of constantly being physically inconvenienced, it's life affirming and restores your faith in humanity a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so once this new album comes out, are you already planning a tour, or is it just kind of something you have in mind that you're hoping will come to fruition?
I mean, it has not been planned yet because I hate planning tours. I hate booking tours.
Yeah. Tell me what goes into that?
A lot of Facebook research. I just like whenever somebody posts like a tour schedule of like any country in Europe or like any state, I just like save it to my computer, and then when I'm like want to do a tour to that place, I just Google all their places and I just send cold emails to people. And it's not until the tour is planned, it's like a constant open browser in your head, so you can like you're like, well, they might give me this date, but if they don't give me this date, they'll give me the next date, in which case I have to move that. It's just like, I enjoy logistical planning because I don't know, it's an achievable goal that can end in theory, but this one just takes weeks to end. And then you have to like ask for pay and negotiations, stuff which I'm frankly really terrible at. I'm just like, just whatever you want. It's cool. We're just happy to be there. Like, but yeah, it's just so much work for very little return. Like most people never reply, and then I get filled with rage. So it's an emotional roller coaster. I'm like, I saw who you booked and they fucking sucked. I'm better. You should respond to me. Like.
I love it. Yeah, that's and the other thing too, it seems to me about touring, when you perform mostly locally, or at least in within your region for the most part, you get comfortable with venues. You kind of get comfortable with the people that come to see you, and I don't know, you feel warm and happy, when you're going to your gigs. And I imagine if you're out on the road and you're going to a venue for the first time, there's so much unknown. You wouldn't have any idea what to expect. Have you, do you have any weird road stories or weird occurrences that have come up?
I should, but for the most, I wish I should have thought about this. Pressure. No, in Europe at least everybody is super cool. There's weird things like, how does every German seem to know every word of King of the Road by Roger Miller? Like, just the fact that like they know the weirdest things. Like,
really? Okay.
Yeah, I get it's really beneficial to be an American in many ways, but like the fact that our culture has historically has had such has been so enchanting to the rest of the world
Mm-hmm.
is really nice. It makes people want to, because that's the stressful thing about new places too, is like you've never been there, you have no fan base, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm stressing hard. Like this is a ticketed event. Who is gonna come? Like I did some targeted Facebook ads, which maybe worked. I don't know, but in general, people just showed up anyway, so it was really nice. Yeah, I wish I had a story of someone being an asshole. Nobody's ever stiffed me. I hear stories about other musicians where they got stiffed, and I'm just like, I don't know what I would do. What do? You just walk out, like.
You
But
simmer and with anger and
yeah,
resentment for a long time.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, it's complicated too finding bands when you've never met them abroad.
okay.
Because like Sam and I went there, just the two of us,
Mhm.
and like I hired some bass, no drummers, but like a bass player and like some pedal steel players there, and that's just hard. Some of them are not very good, and but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I struggle with it because like I think some people are just really amazing no matter the circumstances that they're dealing with. I am
Mhm.
not one of those people. I'm just like, can you turn your instrument down? It is screeching in my ear and I cannot abide. Like, but I don't say that. I just like, yeah, good job. Never
Your
hiring you
fate speaks
again.
for you.
Yeah, like but fortunately, people like audience members, as we all know, are not very discerning or musically educated, so they don't seem to notice things like that. But
Right. Right. Yeah, all those notes that you try to perfect behind the scenes that no one will ever know that you actually botched them, but means so much to us.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, I have some. I'm an emotional roller coaster constantly about the quality of my voice. I'm in a period right now where I'm just like, oh, my voice is so terrible. I hate it. I can barely sing. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like very negative self-talky right now, so I'm trying to just stop comparing myself to others.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that's because of, pandemic and just like less frequent shows and singing, or you just having a minute?
I think I'm just having a minute, man. I'm just like a real perfectionist. And I doing things like the studio too really
Hmm.
points out all the flaws.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, well, at least Ben told me that I'm a better singer than most people he deals with. Whatever. Like a better studio singer, but who knows? Doesn't even
Yeah.
matter. Who cares what other people think? Like it matters what I need to come to terms with it myself and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think every singer goes through that. I mean, there are days that, I I want to go work at like Jersey Mike's instead and, just kind of live the rest of my life doing that. But then there are days where I feel like, wow, I guess I'm really good, and I'm real
Hmm.
proud of myself, but it comes and goes, that's for sure.
It's hard
Yeah.
too because like you're harmonizing with so many people at once, which I'm sure like you guys do like three-part harmony all the time, right?
Yeah.
So any weak link in that chain makes things even more evident. Like I'm lucky that I usually only sing lead, and whenever someone tries to harmonize with me live, I'm like, "Oh, this feels weird." Like now I have to sing it the same way every time, so because I'm always like, "I'll sing it different this way this time. Why not?" But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it really is interesting. I know when you're in a band and, especially having multiple vocalists, the more you can develop a comfort level with who you're working with, is so great. I mean, I work with Donovan and Darrell. Those are my co-singers in the band, and we've been together for so long that we just kind of like have it gelled. We have our formula, how we stack everything. Mikey sings too. Our drummer sings as well.
Hmm.
So, it's always fun when we can add a fourth in there. But, the chemistry on stage between you, your singers, and your musicians is everything. And I can
Hmm.
imagine you talking about, going to another country and having to hire a band sight unseen. That is, I don't know
Hmm.
about that. That would be pretty scary.
It is. It's
Yeah,
scary, but
necessary.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would like to know. So with doing the tours, what would you say is like really the objective for you when you go on a tour? Are you looking for the adventure of it and the experience of it, or are you really hardcore about building your fan base? And do you have some sort of a method to pulling in new fans and keeping them?
In theory, it's both. Like, it's really both. But
Mhm.
in theory, it is more about building a fan base.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I experience regular despair on this front because.
I love your honesty. I really do.
Because, like, I am not a networker by nature, and I've just accepted that about myself. I don't think that there's, like, a lot of skills you can learn. I'm not sure that networking is one of those skills because it's about your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it freaks me out to walk up to strangers. And that makes me act weird, which makes me come off weird. Then they don't want to talk to me. It's just like, so in answer to your question, I have no methodology to capture fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I should make a point of announcing more than once. Sign up for my email list, like any way to keep people on my radar or to keep me on theirs. But I don't know, I feel I struggle a lot with that. I don't like, that's why they're on Broadway in Nashville is the only place where you get paid to play music, and not the only, but like that's where most musicians work in Nashville, and they're just playing like requests and top 40 stuff, and most of their money comes from tips. And the way they get those tips is usually if there's a girl in the band, i.e. it was me when I was working down there, you have to walk around the entire, like go from person to person asking for tips. And I'm just like, that alone, I was like, I'm not working down here anymore. I cannot handle it. Like, it's so hurtful to me when someone doesn't tip me. Like, like
personal.
Yeah, everything is very personal for me. So when I like announce we're working for, I just like, it feels like I'm nagging people, like sign up for me. And I know that's not the case. Like at least in Europe, like you bought a ticket to be here. You've enjoyed yourself. You bought my CD. You presumably want to know when I'm coming back. But it just feels so like salesman-y for me to like, so I totally let it go. And I don't know what to do about that. I guess that is a skill I guess I could cultivate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's really something that a lot of people don't realize is they look at singers and musicians and assume that because what they do for a living is on stage and in front of the public, that the personality that they see on stage is what they get off stage, and that is not always the case. And it sounds like I think we may be a lot like each other, where I'm very introverted, and in a group setting or whatever, I am awkward, like so awkward. It's embarrassing. And so, thank God I'm married to a big time talker. So I let him do all of the talking for me. Otherwise, no one would ever know what I do for a living if it weren't for that. And so it is, really as introverts and people who aren't, really super hyped about going out into crowds, you've really got to learn how to compensate for that and do things in another way. I don't think it counts you out by any means, but it is difficult because I don't know if you feel this way, but after doing a show, I mean during a show, I love that energy, the back and forth energy, and meeting eyes with people, feeling that you've connected with someone, and just kind of like you're having a moment with your people. But as soon as the show is over, I make a beeline exit for backstage, and and so many people want you to hang out, and that just makes me sweat profusely.
Especially like, what is the conversation that usually takes place after that? Like, you sounded so great, thank you. Like, what do I say now? Like,
yeah,
what do you do for a living, stranger? I don't, it's like a very odd.
Come here often?
Yeah, like Yeah, it is hard. And I'm sure there are ways to compensate. I just need to figure them out.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
and that, of course, like you said, it spills over into the marketing aspects, of our business too, because you really do, you have to put yourself out there in some way. And I mean, I know that, we can't always be comfortable like in our, warm little cocoons and soft and safe, all the time. We've got to step out of our comfort zone sometimes, but it is hard to, put yourself out there and feel like you're just hammering people over the head
mhm.
with your music. And so I think that's probably a skill too that is acquired, learning
Mhm.
to work that muscle. But yeah,
If only Sam were good at talking to people.
he's
Like
not
you,
either.
your husband. Like, no, Sam's even worse than me.
Yeah. Oh my God. My husband, okay. He's probably listening in the other room, but we early on in my career, I did a lot of country music, and so we were always at the like country awards out in Las Vegas, and doing events and things like that. And um, if left to myself, I would stay in my room the whole time. I
Mm.
would not go out anywhere. But he marches us into a bar, and he will identify, somebody that he saw performing on stage or somebody he knows. He observes everything, and he will just walk right up to somebody and introduce himself, tell him where we're from, what we're doing, and he's so genuine about it, that
Mhm.
like people really like him. And so I'm telling you, it really is nice when you have people like that in your camp. Maybe you need to get a hype man for your next
Yeah.
tour and bring him along.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like hype man slash merch seller.
Yes,
That's the
that's a
dream.
perfect role. Yeah, as
Yeah.
long as they're not too pricey, but
Shit, maybe
um
worth it.
yeah. So well, that makes me think, so is music your full-time career? Do you work outside of the field of music?
Since I moved to Nashville, yes.
Hmm.
I just quit last week. Ooh, ooh.
Oh.
But my aspiration was to move to Nashville and get a job at the Country Music Hall of Fame, which I did
Okay.
within a week of living there. And I've
Oh.
worked there this whole time. And yeah, but it's a really great museum, but it's menial work and I'm tired of repeating the same thing over and over again to the thousands of customers that
Are you
the
a tour
thousands
guide?
of no, I could have been a tour guide, but I wasn't. I should have
People
because it's
again. People will want to talk to you.
I will say this job did make me better at talking to people because I applied like as a cashier, but it turns out the way they do things there is everybody's cross trained on everything. So I went in on my day of training thinking I was just going to be a cashier. And I've been a cashier at a million places. And that's like easy for me because somebody walks up to the window and you have like an interaction. You both know how it's going to go, you know? I'm here to give you money. Bye. Like, but there's all these other things I had to do there. You just have to like walk up to strangers and be like, here's our pricing options. And like
Ah,
put crowds of people in an elevator and give them this little spiel about how the museum is organized while they're talking over you. So I have grown in that regard.
mhm,
It feels different when I'm doing it for my own ends, like it's
mhm.
but um, yeah, that's why I quit that job.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it might be slightly easier to do, like you said, when you're promoting somebody else and it's a requirement of your employment to do it,
Totally, yeah.
not just the self-promotion, but
Yeah, yeah. We all really need to just not care what people think. And that's such a
yes.
like a pearl of wisdom everyone's always tossing around. And
Hmm.
yet I can't think of anybody that doesn't. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just have a lower threshold than others, perhaps.
Yeah. Or, I agree with that. Or we have to learn to like reframe the way we're processing our feelings about that, because just in living in this social media day and age, it's worse than ever, because
Mm.
we see what everybody's doing in our face all the time. And, I think it's so perfectly natural that, we're going to compare ourselves to one another and feel like everybody's doing more than you are doing, or, why wasn't I called for that gig? And,
Mm-hmm.
it really is hard, but I just, I still feel those feelings sometimes too, but I think, at this stage in my life, I have kind of come to that place where I feel like, when I see other people doing great things, it serves as a source of inspiration for me. I know that if I'm feeling jealous, that's telling me something. It's telling me
Mm-hmm.
about some kind of a desire that I have inside, or, an unmet goal. And I always have to remind myself too that, their life, their journey, their opportunities are not mine, because if they were
Mm-hmm.
mine, they would have come my way, you know.
Hmm.
So we carry on, but it is hard. That is another very hard aspect of the business. I'm fully neglecting the comments over here, so let me jump over here. We got Z out there. Hey Z, how are you? Welcome. And Tavo is here. He says, "Hi, Stacy."
Hey, Gustavo. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, and Dan, he says it's been a great interview. People being honest and real.
Hey, Dan.
Yep. We do like to keep it real. Yeah. Well, it's so good meeting you. I love
You
this
too.
conversation. I truly do love your honesty. This has been like refreshing. I like it. But tell me, before we kind of like wrap things up, one of the things I've been asking everybody is, it has been such a crazy, crazy season of life, for everybody. And hopefully, that we've learned some lessons from this, or gleaned some, silver linings. But do you feel like there are any things that you can pinpoint that have kind of changed you for the better, or do you operate in a different way?
Such a great question. Let me think for a minute.
Hmm. While you're thinking, I know that you mentioned to me that you basically wrote the album during this whole time.
That I think it's weird because like when quarantine first started, it felt like every day was a new year. Like so many things being, and now I just sort of feel like I've just settled into the miasma of whatever this is. I guess it's life again. It's hard for me to recall what I've learned. Like, um, I've learned that words matter and that
Mhm.
leadership matters on a political level. Not to get
Mhm.
political, just like
Yeah.
I don't know, examples matter.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I wrote a list like halfway through this but I can't remember what the other things were. I don't
Mhm.
know. I feel like since I've been able to, oftentimes one of the things I dislike about myself is that I like, oh, I want to be a singer. I'm a singer, but like I never ever practice. I never do anything. And once I get over the hump of like procrastinating, if I just force myself to do something for like 5 minutes, I'm like, shit, this is fun. Like even if I'm just singing the same line of a song over and over again to get it perfect,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, like this is important. Like the craft of it all. So I've gotten more into that, just being present in the moment and like doing what you actually say you want to do. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doing the
yeah.
actual things. Yeah. Well, that's a great lesson. That's a great lesson too. And it is, I think that I am part of a huge voice instructor organization, and one common thing, that I hear a lot is the the greatest audience of people that are taking vocal instruction are not necessarily singers or have any ambition to, be professionals or anything. And it's really a lot of the high level professionals that don't ever train,
Mhm.
or, because if you're naturally gifted and just naturally good at it, it's like, what's to learn until you until you start vocally fatiguing or trashing your voice or something like that. Why bother? But I think so many people are like that, when you, especially if you're singing a lot, if you're singing every night, and it's hard to sit down and listen to stuff. And it's especially hard for me if I don't like the material that I'm learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, it has been so nice talking with you. You're
too.
delightful. I love this. Your energy and your honesty it's great. I really love it. So tell everybody again, and I'm gonna pop those social handles in the chat again so everyone can see them. Where would you like everybody to visit? Where can they go to hear your music and all the things, Ginger Cowgirl?
So everything is just at gingercowgirl.com. That links to everything else. I'm on Spotify and Apple Music and all the usual places. Yeah. Album's going to be spring 2022. But again, it'll be under my name, Stacy Antonel. But stacyantonel.com also auto-directs to Ginger Cowgirl, so it's all the same.
Great. Okay.
And if you're in San Diego, I'm playing this Saturday at the Grand Ole Barbecue, 1 to 4 p.m., and at Twin Oaks Valley Winery in San Marcos, 6 to 8 p.m.
Awesome. Boom. Yeah. Oh, great. Well, I highly encourage everybody, go to her website, check out her music. It's great. You will love it. It's really unique. And then after you have listened to her music, go to her show, like all of her things, get all things Ginger Cowgirl going in your life. And I will eagerly await your new album coming out. That is so exciting. So we'll just have to, stay in touch, and, hopefully our paths will cross at some point here in San Diego. But
for sure.
Yeah, you never know. But thanks to everybody who stopped in and listened. I really appreciate you. I'll be back here at the same time next week. I'm going to have David Uter with me, and he's going to have a friend with him. We're going to be talking. This is interesting. We're going to be talking cryptocurrency and how that relates, or how it impacts the life of a musician, how that can, serve the musician's life. And so this is a topic that I know very little about. So now I am compelled to learn everything about it this week before we talk. So I have that level of pressure, but it's going to be an interesting conversation. He knows his stuff about it, and he's great to talk to about it. So it should be fun. And if you'd like to stay up to speed on all of the singer series, the summits, all of the things, just head over to my website, which is danielletucker.com, and you can jump on my email list, and I'll keep you posted on all of the things. And I usually post the Mighty Untouchable schedule there too. So exciting stuff coming up. But once again, thank you so much. Really awesome talking with you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Yeah. Hope we talk again soon. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Bye.